Hi, my name is Chantel Soto, and for my walkabout tour number 5, I decided to do Hoboken, New Jersey. Introduction. Hoboken is a city located in Hudson County, New Jersey. As of 2021, this city has a total population of 51,763 residents. Their average household income is typically $189,092, with a poverty of 8.66%. The city's demographics consist of 80.7% being white, 9.80% Asians, 3.40% African Americans, and 16.0% Hispanics or Latinos. When it comes to Hoboken, New Jersey, you should know about Hoboken's most famous son, Frank Sinatra. He was born on December 12, 1915, to Italian immigrant parents. He moved out of Hoboken not long after his fame was skyrocketing, but this place was still considered his home because it was where he grew up as a child until the beginning of his career. He was considered to be America's teenage heartthrob because of his smooth and talented voice. His 4-story apartment house was destroyed in a fire in 1967, but the Hoboken Historical Museum decided to honor him by displaying a 3-foot square bronze statue. Here is the illustrated map that I created based on my observations on the walkabout tour, starting at Washington Street until I reached the street's intersection with 4th Street. I drew some things such as a train, apartment buildings, benches, and bus stop booths. Then wrote the names of every business I saw on that day. It was a great experience for me even though I couldn't go on the Istanbul trip, because I was able to observe Hoboken with a fresh set of eyes, since I only visited once before. I go more into detail about my observations in the slides to come. My observation throughout the walkabout. My starting point was the intersection of Washington Street and Observer Street. The first thing that caught my eye was the train station, most likely known as the Hoboken Terminal. However, I do not think that this specific train was operating on the day that I was there. I also saw and heard a lot of construction machines going on in the background. From that location, I was able to see the Manhattan skyline since we are so close to the waterfront in downtown New Jersey. One other thing that I was able to note was how busy Hoboken is with traffic from various parts. Some other sounds that I could hear were helicopters and the cars passing by on the streets. Washington Street architecture. At the beginning of Washington Street, you can see a modernized office building compared to the old-fashioned buildings that I observed as I continued the walkabout. It has glass windows with an interesting structure in between. Its main colors are brown and burnt orange. Right next to this office, there were less modernized 5-story apartment buildings for residents. Its foundation was built with bricks, and each building had neutral colors such as tan, cream, and brown. These buildings reminded me of the apartment buildings that are located in downtown New Jersey, since they are buildings attached to one another. The buildings that I witnessed had different lengths. For example, some were shorter than others. Usually the ones that had this mixture were the buildings with the businesses below them. Also, some of these buildings had fire escapes, most likely as a safety precaution since there are some that have restaurants right under them. There were a variety of 3, 4, and 5-story apartments with the colors gray, cream, brown, and brick red. One important thing that I noticed about the appearance of the buildings is that they all had the same rectangular shaped windows. The building structure had Victorian exterior designs as well as having paint being chipped away, most likely due to rainstorms or lack of maintenance. Transportation. There are many different forms of moving around, such as the Hoboken Terminal, buses, city bikes for rental that had bike lanes on the streets specifically for them, as well as if you are just a regular car owner. The main downside of Hoboken is that there is rarely any parking, or for free for that matter. Many of the cars on Washington Street the day that I went were double parked with their hazard lights on. There's a system for mobile parking for 2 hours. A sign of advanced technology that I had noticed was that instead of having parking meters, you can just scan the barcode with your phone to be directed to pay with a card. This is a convenient form of payment for people who usually don't carry coins like myself. There were also benches and bus stop booths for individuals to sit and wait for the buses to pass by. Businesses and institutions. On Washington Street, there are pharmacies, banks, restaurants, bakeries, barbershops, and self-owned businesses such as clothing shops. To name a few, there is a CVS Pharmacy, Verizon Store, Carlos Bakery, which is known for its delicious treats such as pastries, cakes, and desserts. It is definitely a main attraction because it's the only one that we have in the Jersey City region, as well as there being Shake Shack, Rita's, Johnny Rockets, and specific businesses with the Hoboken name in them, such as Hoboken Diamond, which is a jewelry store, and Hoboken Cuts. There is a Kessler Center for Physical Therapy, Bell Book and Candle Shop, Capital Bank, and a makeup store named Sephora. Observation of citizens. The people I witnessed were walking at a slow pace from one destination to another. They seemed not to be in a rush, but rather running errands or enjoying themselves. Some people that I saw include UPS and Amazon workers making deliveries, self-owned restaurants that had food deliveries on bikes, Grubhub, and Uber Eats drivers, couples and owners walking their dogs, as well as groups of people that appeared to be family or friends. I also noticed that most of these people were going into restaurants and bakeries. Hoboken's demographics that I witnessed were mostly Caucasians. A few individuals were Hispanic, such as a group of teenagers because I heard them speaking Spanish, as well as rarely any African Americans. The clothing on this day was casual, but mostly winter essentials such as hats, coats, and scarves, as well as the UPS and Amazon truck drivers with their uniforms. Cultural impact. Some of the restaurants in Hoboken represent different cultures, such as the Cuban restaurant, Por Amor Coffee House, Empanadas Cafe, Curry Up Now, Indian street food, and South Street fish and ramen. Like I mentioned before, 16.0% Hispanics or Latinos are residents, as well as the third largest percentage, which is 9.80% being Asians, which explains why there are many businesses that represent these different cultural backgrounds in Hoboken, such as ramen noodles, which is a fan favorite of mine, Indian food, and empanadas, which is a popular dish in the Hispanic and Latino culture. Artistic impact. I witnessed that there was a rainbow on First Street in Hoboken, New Jersey, which I can infer is for the LGBT and Pride community. It was also cool to witness electrical boxes painted on with bright colors. For example, this specific art piece had the words equal rights, love, freedom, children, and mothers. One of the utility boxes had a mother and child smiling and hugging each other, which was beautiful to see. This representation of art is thanks to the Hoboken Arts Committee, which launched the Art Box Mural project. Its main purpose is to paint art on 15 utility boxes along Washington Street. I can infer that the committee chose Washington Street because of how packed and full of life it is, with all these different places to visit. Equality and inclusion is the overall theme on these utility box paintings. This was all achieved with the help of artists who live or work in the community who submitted their ideas. Which is why I believe that there is no other better way to represent Hoboken in these paintings than with artists who spend most, if not all, of their time in the city. This city was able to promote the sense of belonging within their community, which is so important to do, as well as emphasizing respect towards one another despite their race, background, or beliefs. This is my citation page, and thank you so much for your time.